Questions for Digital Art Museum. Introduction question. Hello, how are you doing? I'm doing well, thank you. Could you please share a bit about yourself? I am a chartered accountant by profession. So I am currently working with a company. How and since when have you been interested in art and painting? Art has been a personal passion for me, and when I cannot do art or painting, I ensure that I am associated with it in some form or other. For example, reading about it or researching about it. Which kind of art most excites you? I mostly like oil paintings for landscapes. Do you like to visit art museums? Yes, I do. Goals: what? Understanding the role of digital tools. Do you like traditional art museums? How do you want to bring changes to them? Traditional art museums basically, I believe, refers to the current form of art museums in wherein we go and we look at the art pieces. One of the changes I would like to bring to them is having better display boards for the information associated with them, which is also much more researched and is in much more lucid language, so that anyone can understand and connect to it. What impact do digital platforms have on how people experience art? Digital is currently a great part of everyone's life. So if we have digital platforms which incorporate art, then it would be much more easier to get more people interested into it, which would in turn lead to much better preservation of our art heritage. How are digital tools like AR and VR being used in museums today? I'm sorry, I don't have knowledge about it. Enhancing museum experiences. How can digital tools make museum visits more interactive and enjoyable? Digital tools can facilitate understanding art even for those who are not literate or who belong to a different linguistic group. For example, we can have a digital tool which caters to teens, and we can have a separate one who caters to the elderly. So the one for elderly can be in a much more lucid language and have references from the past, and one for the teens can have connections with the current scenarios. How can museums connect their physical galleries with their digital platforms? Well, we can use QR codes such that someone can scan a QR code and they can access interface which can connect to museum social media or the websites. Also, there can be virtual exhibitions from time to time through which people visiting these websites can access a digital version of the museum. Building a future-ready model. What should a future-ready digital museum look like? So a future-ready digital museum would for sure be very adaptive to the changes and the new art which is being discovered. Also, it should incorporate not just a single type of art, but also all the types. For example, it should have sculptures as well as paintings. How can museums ensure their digital strategies remain sustainable and adaptable? Okay, so for this, I believe the museums need to have a separate digital department wherein they have a constantly evolving plan to market themselves on digital platforms. Moreover, these should be secured enough to fend off any hacking or similar attempts. Needs: what is required to fulfill the goals? Accessibility and inclusion. How can digital museums make art accessible to people worldwide? Well, by having digital exhibitions and by offering digital tours on the website, digital museums can make art accessible for the people worldwide. What steps can museum take to include diverse audiences in the digital space? Well, diverse audience means not just the divide by way of gender or race. It also means for those who are differently abled. So for that, there should be accessible, all the areas in the museum should be accessible to each and everyone. Effective digital practices. Effective digital practices. What are the best ways to ensure digital art remains accessible over time? Well, for this, I think it should be possible that each art is digitally protected, whether by any type of algorithm, and as well as secure from any kind of hacking events. How are museums using websites and social media to engage audiences? Well, I believe each museum today has a page on Facebook and Instagram. So I believe that is how they are using social media to engage audiences. Personalization and engagement. What features can digital museums add to personalize visitor experiences? Well, they can add a kind of AI tool which can translate the information to any language that the visitor asks for. Wants, desires, or features that enhance the experience. How can digital tools improve the interactivity and personalization of museum visits? They can use a kind of tablet or giveaways. They can have a tablet device wherein the museum visitors are asked to share their experiences and be much more and encourage them to interact so that their experience can be personalized. Enhancing visitor engagement. What all features you want a digital museum should have for a seamless experience? I would want it to be available in different languages, and not just Hindi and not just English, but both at least, and also in various regional languages. How can museums blend real and virtual art experiences seamlessly? For this, they would have to make a technology in place which can differentiate between the two, at the same time offering an experience which is balanced for them, for the visitors. Unique offerings. What features can museums add to enhance the overall visitor experience? They can have an audio tours which can be conducted over audio devices, or they can also have headphones which are issued to each visitor, telling them about each art exhibit. Challenges. What are the main barriers to adopting digital technologies in museums? The main barrier is making each visitor aware of how the digital technology has been adopted in the museum and how they are going to be using it in the museum. Preservation of digital art. What challenges do museums face in preserving digital art? they face an issue relating to copyrights, digital art protection from hacking attempts, and also duplication of the digital art. Adapting to expectations. How can museum adapt to meet the expectation of a tech-savvy audience? Well, current generation is a tech-savvy audience, and to adapt to their expectations, they need to have a constant tap over what apps are getting much more traffic and how the audience gives a feedback about their museum. How can museums balance their physical identity with their digital presence? For this, they should ensure that there is always a connection between the physical identity and the digital presence, and also the digital presence is kept as closely similar to the physical identity as possible. Users. Understanding user needs. How do digital platforms impact the public's interaction with artworks and exhibition? Well, digital platforms are something that the public may interact with even before they assess the traditional art museum, so they affect the interaction greatly. How can digital museum cater to diverse global audiences? They can do this through digital art exhibitions and virtual tours conducted over digital mediums. What role do mobile apps and social media play in attracting and retaining users? Well, everybody uses mobile apps much more these days than computer applications, and so they play a greater role in how the audiences perceive a particular museum and thus in retaining them. How can museums ensure that the digital offerings are user-friendly and accessible? Firstly, the app should be self-explanatory and much easy to use so that anyone can figure out how they are going to use it. Also, it should be available in major languages and easily translatable into different languages. Thank you.